Hey everyone, this is Rahul with the Alternative Investors Hangout, and today we have a special guest. He is Bill Murphy. He's over at gata.org. Thanks for coming on again, Bill.
Great to be back, Ro, but don't forget La Metropole Cafe. That's how I make my living.
Yes, I was going to mention that towards the end.
I love the joke with you. Go ahead.
All right, so while you were in Vancouver, some breaking news came out of Germany where the Germans wanted to repatriate some of their gold holdings at the New York Fed and also from France as well. So what are your thoughts about that and how gold has traded? Because it initially went up upon that news and then they smacked it right down last week.
No, it always happens. Anyone who follows me knows one of my favorite expressions, black is white and white is black. I mean, the more bullish the news, the more the gold cartel attacks. And anyone that followed this for 14 years and has a brain knows what I'm talking about. It's ludicrous. Between the QE3, QE4, Japan easing, European easing, when gold was at 1730, you would think gold would be going nuts. Instead, gold's collapsed, and that's what they do. This is what these people do. It's so counterintuitive. It's ludicrous. And it goes on and on like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And last week's price move in gold, I noticed how the price of gold went down, and interest rates have been slowly but steadily going up. Do you think part of the reason why gold is going down is because interest rates are magically rising up?
Not
or
a
is it just
zillion chance. Not a zillion in a million years. Let me put this in perspective. For the last decade, everyone said outside the Gata camp the key to what the gold price would do would be the weakness in the dollar. And they all give up their shtick when, after the last 3 or 4 months, and they've done this in the past, but the euro is near its highs. And gold's going straight down. It makes no sense. All this stuff is ludicrous. It has nothing to do with what people say and think. They'll come up with anything. No one ever outside the Gata camp gets to the real truth about what's going on and why. We are going into one of the most severe financial predicaments the United States has ever been in. The debt limit has been lifted. No Republican or Democrat wants to deal with it because they know they won't get elected. So they do nothing. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And what our camp talks about has been saying why gold's doing as poorly as it is, because that's how bullish it is. That's what we've been saying for 10 years. And if anything wanted to give some sort of example how God is right, just look what gold has done compared to what the yen has done, because their QE, and that's fallen apart, which it should. And everyone says don't fight the Fed, so the Dow drifts up every day, for better or for worse. But gold and silver get killed? This is just, it is inanity.
Yeah, you make an interesting point about how the euro was trading up last week. I forgot to mention that it's like 133, 134, and then the Japanese yen was weakening at the same time, and the price of gold was getting smacked down. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense based on all that information.
It does make sense if you know what Gata knows. The more bullish the situation is, the more the gold cartel attacks.
Indeed. All right, so do you think that now that Germany is going to repatriate the gold over 7 years, other countries are going to repatriate the gold, and now the cartel is definitely finished because of this? It may not happen this year, it may not happen next year, but in the next few years, as you see the United States continue to monetize all of this debt, add all of this debt to the system, and then maybe take people's guns, and then there's going to be a loss of confidence, and people are going to say, you know what, this is just like what Charles de Gaulle did in the 1960s, and we need to do the same to protect ourselves. Even though we're not on a gold standard, we need to make sure that the gold is on our shores.
Well, you asked great questions, and I really didn't do a good job in completing your answer on the German gold. I mean, it's ludicrous. 310s, 7 years? How about 7 days to get it back? It's moronic just by the surface. They think, what's wrong behind the scenes? I can go this. Gata through the able work of our supporter, who's a brilliant guy, James Turk, in 12 years ago, said it looked like that the Germans had swapped their gold at West Point with U.S. gold. Now, the United States cannot sell gold without an act of Congress. But if you want to suppress the price, you could swap gold with somebody else, like Germany, and sell their gold, and no one can say a word about it. It's all these technicalities these people do. It is pathetic. That's why they won't answer any questions about gold swaps, gold leasing, no nothing, the most secretive market in the world. So that's what we think Germany's done. And what's happened now is no one knows about unallocated gold, allocated gold, gold's been rehypothecated, everyone has claims on the same gold. There's some concern. Whatever you see publicly, I can tell you it's not what's really going on. This is like for public consumption, what was put out. But there's deep meaning behind it. And the Germans, they'll do this to say, look, the Germans are giving the U.S. Notice that if you don't get your act together and get us our gold back, things can change. And bankers are really, there's Class A people and Class risk-averse people, or A-type people. And the bankers are risk-averse. Nobody would do something like this if something is really wrong behind the scenes. And I know this. There's no doubt in my mind. And something stinks here. If they want to get the U.S. gold back right away, they just go get it to them and give it to them. It's not there. It's been leased out, swapped out, rehypothecated, whatever word you want to use. This thing is going to blow up to be the biggest financial scandal in the history of the world.
Yeah, it probably is going to be. And then one last question about the miners. I've had discussions with some newsletter writers behind the scenes through emails, and they've told me that the mining shares are being manipulated by the U.S. government, which sounds crazy, but the plunge protection team is in there shorting the daylights out of the firms. Wall Street's on this as well. So do you agree with that assessment? Because I'm looking at some of these big miners such as Agnico Eagle, and then there's Newmont Mining, and they've pretty much stayed the same. I mean, there's some royalty companies that are doing fine, but a lot of these miners, they've just been hammered. So your thoughts on that?
Well, you're asking somebody who, I'm a conspiracy guy, they although we're really not, but that's what we were laughed at. But yeah, there's two things here. One, it's a hedge fund trade against the general shares. Actually, it's been going on for years. And that's just a trade. Sell the gold, silver shares, buy the general market. It's worked pretty well. But I can tell you the gold cartel is a part of it and spread the word what to do to the hedge funds and themselves. What no one maybe remembers what I reported 7 or 8 years ago that J.P. Morgan, this was official record stuff at the time, borrowed shares from the Oppenheimer Gold Fund. What a bunch of losers they were to do this and to do just this sort of thing. Yes, your information is correct. It's all part of it because part of what the gold cartel wants to do is just minimize excitement about the sector. And quite frankly, this is the most demoralized that I've seen. Now people own bullion. But if you're in the share market, this is worst I've seen in 14 years. A lot of my friends are going to go out of business. The brokerage business is down. There's no deals. There's no money. It's a black hole. And this is exactly what the gold cartel wanted to do. It's what you're talking about. And we're out there fighting it. And quite frankly, it's we know what we do. We love doing it. But what's the matter with the morons out there that don't get it?
So do you think this is going to be the biggest short squeeze ever then when this comes to pass?
You read my mind, Raul. Yeah. When this thing hits, because they're getting everybody out. And, people say that, the guys, they want to get long in gold and silver. I don't buy it. They could get long in gold and silver shares after they force people out. But here's why they can't do it on the way up. No one's ever answered the question to me. I'm talking about the smartest people I know. Okay, if the cartel types, the Morgan, whatever, these guys are going to get long because that's why they're forcing them. Who's going to be short when the technicals turn? Who? That was the song. Who? What? Like who? Is nobody going to be there? And so they can't allow that. But maybe they can buy out-of-the-money options, force everyone out down around now and buy up the shares, because, honestly, the sentiment's terrible. Yes, investors are fleeing. It's a horror show. But I can tell you, I think what you're talking about is exactly correct. We have the big move in the shares is going to be the biggest move in history, bigger than the Internet move, first by the squeeze, then when the public comes in, and it goes on there. So it sounds like, I don't know, it doesn't sound like much now when we're in the weeds here, but that's what I think is coming, and hopefully you can play this back in 6 months, and I'll be half right.
Hopefully. And before I let you go, Bill, how can people follow your work and do business with you?
Well, that's what I do. I write lemetropolecafe.com, lemetropolecafe.com. I write daily commentary. You can sign up for a 2-week free trial. I think you're going to be. What a great time, at least, to check into the deal for free. And then I have that's how I make my living. People pay me for it. But in addition to that, you can sign up to Sagata.org. My colleague Chris Powell does a great job what he does. It's a freebie. In the end, we'll have to make money and have some fun. So all I can say is this is probably and then my colleague John Embry says the same thing of Sprott Asset Management. This is the most extraordinary time in history.
Yep. Hopefully that will be true in the next few years, and we could all profit off of it. Thanks for coming on again, Bill.
Oh, thank you.